So I'll be talking a little bit about evolution of DApps. DApps, like it's a, I mean, when a bunch of smart contracts come together, they are receiving data from the user and processing a set of, completing a set of instructions provided by the developers and providing a value addition to the user. It makes it a DApp. Now, decentralized applications are often described as trustless peer-to-peer. With the distribution characteristic, there is that no single server or a single entity controlling that entire system. It is being controlled by the all the users which are available on the platform at that particular time. But to understand what really makes a DApp from a centralized application, it is worthwhile considering what goes into a contemporary centralized application. Let's understand that. So a centralized application consists of a UI, which is there through which the users interact. There is a data store or a database where the entire data is being kept, and there is one server which is manipulating and processing the data, which is controlled by either a group of developers or it is controlled by some entity or a single person. Now, overhead, the entire control, what is happening on the application, when what does what, is in control of the entity or the individual who is running that server, who is writing that code on the server and running that. So that becomes difficult and it's not completely decentralized. Now, what values can dApps add over there? We talk about centralized systems. We talk about entities running an application. Now, if the applications are running in a decentralized environment, what is the value addition to the user? So the value addition is that it brings transparency. A user can see what is going to happen before executing and after executing what they want to execute. It brings immutability, that nothing can be withdrawn, tampered with, or deleted. And also it adds a very philosophical motivation, that is governance, that the governance can go decentralized. With prior systems, prior to blockchain, transparency and immutability were like in some part or piece were available, but a decentralized governance structure was something which was really lacking. And advent of dApps came with this. Today we see DeFi space and MakerDAO and Compound, and there are like governance structures in place, and it's going really good. So that is what are the value additions to the user. Now, CryptoKitties. Let's take an example of the most talked about that. CryptoKitties is one of the famous and most famous decentralized applications out there. It was created as a game where players are able to trade, breed, and collect virtual cats. Now, the uniqueness and the scarcity of the tradable items were the only thing which was propelling CryptoKitties, and the application, the ethos of the application, were not decentralized as such. Now dApps have become more diverse and serving users from multiple verticals. So now let's have a look at what is the current Ethereum dApp ecosystem. As we are building on Ethereum, I'll be talking more about Ethereum. So what is the current equation of the Ethereum dApp ecosystem? So over here you can see that over the year there were a lot of gaming and exchange-based use cases in the previously. Gradually, finance increased. If you see at the December 19 and November 19, and you compare to December 18 and November 18, the finance bit increased. So the dApps which are focusing more on marketplace models, like in January 18, you can see there were a lot of dApps built on marketplace models. They shrink right now. And the dApps which are built on exchanges, like for example, Kyber Network, there's Uniswap, there's ZeroX, or your finance like Compound, Maker, Aave. These dApps are performing now because they have they satisfy the use case. They add value to the users' lives. Now, talking about this is the current Ethereum landscape, the current Ethereum rankings of the dApps which are out there in the market, and the statistics of the users. So just imagine there are more than 2,000 dApps in the market, and there are 46,000 daily active users on those dApps. That brings, and also in that, most of the number of users are concentrated in the top ranking dApps. So if you see the number of users, daily active users of MakerDAO is something 2,000, and then for status it drops to 147, then Chainlink is 2,000, then it drops for your this thing Uniswap to 700 something. So that is kind of variation which is out there. What are the potential barriers? What is stopping users from adopting these dApps? If they're actually adding value to users' life, what is going wrong? So In my personal opinion, I think experience, adoption, and integration are three potential barriers which users and also developers are facing right now. Now, talking about these barriers, these are the top layer of the barriers, and there are multiple reasons behind these barriers. So let's talk about them. Those things are really important. So why those barriers exist is, first thing is the consistency with laws. So now, in the land of, in the jurisdiction the app is being developed, there are laws in place, and the developers have to comply with them. And in India, for example, there was a time there was uncertainty that we can build from India or not. We are using Ethereum for making those smart contracts deploy. Can we do that or not? So there were a lot of things over there. So that stops like 50% of the developers from jumping into building dApps. And the second thing is reliability of data. So now on blockchain, which the data which is being generated on blockchain, the transactional data, is reliable because it's totally immutable. But for a dApp to function, or for example a weather dApp or any other kind of dApp to function, they need data from the outside world. And when some data which is coming from outside world to onto the blockchain, that data is not reliable. There are good projects like Chainlink working on that, but still there needs to be, that problem needs to be solved in a much broader way. And the third thing is transaction throughput. This has been in talked about from 2016. From the advent of ICOs, everyone used to talk about transaction throughput. So transaction throughput is basically how many transactions can the blockchain process in a particular amount of time. So that is really less for Ethereum. That creates like network congestions. So that needs to be solved. Matic is doing a great work in solving that transaction throughput problem on Ethereum. Then comes computational cost. Gas fees. Obviously, everyone who is building on Ethereum knows the pain of the computational cost, which is called the gas fees, which comes with it, and what kind of things it can create. And when you will think that the gas fees is really low for a particular transaction, you put it out there, and then the network congests, and then you see that exactly the cost is hiking a lot, and the entire model just drops down. That is there. Then data storage. Blockchain cannot store a lot of data. It's just to store your transactional data. So apart from that, what things can happen over there? That is an issue. Then user onboarding. Now, talking about onboarding general public, talking about onboarding people who don't know about blockchain, they just need to. They just need to use something. They just need to add value to their lives. Now, the first thing they have to create is a wallet. Then they need to understand private key management. They need to understand what is transaction signing. They need to understand what is fees. There are so many technical jargons bombarded to a user who is just looking for a value addition, nothing else, that the user leaves. Uh, that is a really big roadblock for user adoption into dApps. Then there comes developer tools. So already a lot of work is being going on regarding building developer tools, but on Ethereum there are multiple developer tools available. On Tezos there are multiple developer tools available, but talking about all the platforms, the developer tools ecosystem is not that ready for developers to adopt. Also, developers who have been building on non-blockchain ecosystems, and they want to build something on blockchain, it takes them like weeks to understand exactly what is going on, and then months to implement. And then comes audit and security. So when you deploy a smart contract, it's there now. It's immutable. You cannot change it. And if there is a security loophole or something, some functional or some computational bug over there, it can amount up in losses of millions. It has happened in this year itself, and it can happen again. So that is also an issue. And if there are things which are happening, people are trying to resolve all these issues. So I've summed up a list of ecosystem players who are trying to solve issues over here. So I'll just give a shout out to them. So Matic is trying to do really well with scalability. Biconomy is giving gasless transactions. So for example, you're creating a dApp, you don't need to ask the user to pay the fees. Portis is helping in user onboarding. InstaDapp is making it easier for people to use DeFi by their spells. Kyber Network has created a great UI for using decentralized exchanges, and they're providing amazing development tools. Also, MetaMask is coming out with a mobile application which is going to make it really easy for you to I'm not been able to sum everyone up. Just a few. And Dharma is making it easier for people to open a savings bank account in crypto. We at Inblox.Me, we are trying to, solve the entire puzzle by creating an entire ecosystem where every single tool for user onboarding is available. So from getting the user an identity to getting the user gasless transaction, managing the user's private key in a 100% non-custodial way through a virtual hardware security module, and also advanced securities through hardware security modules, and then offering this entire solution in a composite SDK. So a developer just needs to put 2 lines of code, and they can use the entire functionality of onboarding a user and managing the user for the lifetime inside their DApp. And then Trueful is there obviously for all the development purposes. So things are going on. And I hope that there will be amazing products coming in the market in the future, which will help this adoption, which drive the adoption further, and make the billion users come onto blockchain. Yeah, that's all from my side.